Professionals in any field of work, what's the most ridiculous thing someone outside of your profession has claimed to know more about than you? Not a super cool job, but I deliver chips to stores. I had the milk delivery guy ask me why I was bringing in more product than the guy before me had. I said because we needed it. He said that couldn't be true because milk sales hadn't risen. WTF do milk sales have to do with chips? Similar to this, but I once had a staph infection on the outside of my left ankle. So crunching into school on the first day, a classmate walks up to me and asks why I'm on crutches. So I tell him, and his response is, well, my brother had that once and he didn't need crutches. So I asked him where it was. He said on his arm. I am an architecture technologist and my mom argued with me for a good 30 minutes that there was only one way to build an interior wall. Sheet of drywall, 2x4 and another sheet of drywall. I even showed her websites that said otherwise. She still didn't believe me. Theoretical physicist. We regularly get emails from armchair scientists who claim to have reconciled quantum field theory with general relativity or shown how everything Einstein never did was wrong. Some of these contain hundreds of pages of neatly handwritten or typed mathematical equations. I am not sure what to think of these people. I think many of them are mentally unwell and hope they get the help they need. But a part of me wants to believe that there is a misunderstood genius out there whose groundbreaking research will be discovered in a pile of rubbish. That would be one heck of a story. So to the best of my ability, I try to give each email a fair chance until I spot an obvious bulls. I almost never make it to the second paragraph. Being told how to make movies by people who haven't ever made a movie. No, you can't do full post on a movie in 2 weeks whilst in pre-production for another film. What an insult to your investors. This will get absolutely buried, but I was a bra fitter and the amount of women I had straight up argue with me about how sizing works was amazing. Oh, you've been wearing a 36B and couldn't possibly be a 34D? Then tell me why your band was halfway up your back and your breast tissue was slipping under the wires of your cups. Side note, real 36B breasts are actually pretty rare. I've fit maybe 10 out of the 1000 plus fittings I've done and seen dozens upon dozens of women who thought that they were a 36B but weren't. The worst was mothers who couldn't believe that their 14-year-old was a D. Like, lady, she's only a 32 band. Her boobs are the size of an orange, not her head. Calm down and let me do my job. I've actually had some mothers go behind my back, grab whatever size they thought their daughter should be, and make the poor kid try that on to prove to me that I was wrong. Teacher here. Anyone who says they would just tell the kids what to do and they'd do it. Hahaha, you have no idea. Behavior management of mental teenagers is a skill you have to learn. It's bloody hard and emotionally exhausting, even when you are good at it. Getting their attention is one thing. Teaching in an effective way is an entire separate book they have probably never heard of. Teaching is hard. I'm not a doctor, but my father insisted that my mother's hysterectomy was unnecessary until the doctor literally showed him the uterus, which was several times larger than normal. My father's response was to take a picture of it. Luckily I have turned out to be fairly normal. You got out of there before things got weird. Someone attending one of my tastings interrupted me and insisted that if a scotch is even a teaspoon of another age of scotch in it, it has to be labeled blended scotch. He refused to believe otherwise and made sure to let all the other people in attendance know he was right. He isn't right. For your information. Game development. Whenever people are unhappy with a game or suggesting features, you see the appearance of the Dunning-Kruger phenomenon. Oh, well, X game has mods so they should add mods. It'll take a week. Mods take a lot of work and need to be considered early on. Why are they making more skins when there are still networking problems? 3D artists aren't that great at fixing netcode typically. The list goes on and on. Please show us more of that list. Lawyer. Not from US. The amount of things that people think is applicable on my country just because it happens on US movies is absurd. They think it will have screaming, juries, a guy in a black cape mashing a wooden hammer, and oh god, the amount of things they think they can get off by just claiming freedom of speech and other constitutional rights. No, man. Maybe you can get away saying something on the US, but we are on another whole country. If you stand up and say and do some really dumb things, like racist, homophobic, over disrespectful discourse and gesture, You aren't protected by the Constitution. Professional tattoo artist here. I once had a very dark-skinned woman ask me to do a white tiger half sleeve for her. Now tattooing is basically like felt markers. You can't go over darker colors with lighter ones. This also applies to skin tone. If you're a very black person, the only thing that's going to show in your skin is black ink. In medium dark skin, red ink becomes burgundy, blue becomes navy, etc. White ink absolutely will not stay in the skin on somebody as dark as her. Anyways, I explain all of this and she is adamant that I am wrong. She's seen it on the internet or heard about it from other people. Whatever I say is wrong basically. She even suggested that I might be racist because I'm refusing to do this tattoo for her. I'm refusing because I don't want the hassle of having this woman come back and complain about spending $500 on a tattoo that's going to do exactly what I'm telling her it will do. It has nothing to do with how I feel about black people. It's just a fact of nature and the technology we have available to us in the industry. If somebody came up with a white ink that healed white and black skin, I would have heard about it. That would be revolutionary. I would buy that crap in an instant. Because I personally think you could do some really interesting and beautiful things with a tattoo that looked like that. It would add such an interesting new level of artistry to the industry and would pave the way for being able to use other colors and darker skin as well. She never got her tattoo and stormed out of the shop pretty angrily. I heard that she spoke to at least 3 other shops in the area and they all basically repeated what I had already told her. I'm a food safety chemist with a BS in agriculture. My favorite arguments are about food labeling buzzwords. Hormones have been illegal in poultry since the 1950s, so don't pay more for antibiotic and hormone-free chicken. Animals have withdrawal periods, so none of your food has antibiotics in it. Also, if it was alive, it has its own hormones and will have no effect on your hormones. All natural is an unregulated term and is something that just makes you feel warm and fuzzy. I studied film in college and now work as a video editor. A common mistake people make is that I would work for free. No thanks. Therapist here. I would be a rich woman if I had $1 for every time someone lectured me with some version of there is no better cure for depression and anxiety than a run, hard day's work, kick in the butt, etc. Like, thank you for your unsolicited, judgmental, and ignorant opinion, but I hope you never have to test that theory on yourself. I'm a prior ophthalmic assistant who was also a surgical assistant, so I scrubbed in on various surgeries as well as the in-clinic procedures. I was the main scribe, too, so I worked very close with the eye docs in all aspects of care. We saw a lady in clinic who had age-related macular degeneration. Long story short, the kind of diagnosis she had leads to blindness. We can only manage it so it doesn't worsen. But we can't reverse this process. The way we manage it is by injecting medication directly into the eye with a needle. To date, there really isn't any other way to go about this. So, this lady, having this diagnosis, and it being an emergency, sudden loss of vision, she comes in and we give her the shot. She comes back with a bloodshot eye later that day, the white of her injected eye completely red. The eye has a ton of blood vessels running through it, right? And so if you stick it with a needle, chances are good that you'll break a blood vessel eventually. When you get this hemorrhage, it doesn't go away quickly, so the blood is trapped and it looks scary. It does not have an effect on vision and it goes away on its own. But it looks scary. This lady was lucky enough to have it happen to her on her first injection. I took her back into an eye lane and explained what had happened to her eye. She didn't believe me. I wasn't a doctor, so I had no idea what I'm talking about. I've worked in eye care for 10 years, but I'm not a doctor, so fair enough. She was elderly and scared. I called our doc in to talk to her. This doc, everyone loves him. He's fantastic and I consider him a good friend outside of work. He goes in and explains what happened. The exact same crap I said, because I was repeating it just as he explains it to his patients. She doesn't believe him. She tells him he doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know what he's talking about, and that he butchered her eye. She cancels her next appointment to maintain the damage done to her eye, to stop it from worsening. She goes around town telling people what we did to her. She went to a clinic where my wife works and was talking smack without knowing who she was talking to. LOL. Later on, my wife comes home a little pale. I asked her what was wrong. She said that lady's daughter cancelled her appointment. for the future. She never came back to us for treatment and never went anywhere else, apparently. My wife was told that she's in a nursing home now because she's completely blind in both eyes. After that, I was told by a friend of hers who insisted that she come back to see us, that goes to our clinic, that she died not long after. She tripped over something on the floor, maybe a chair not pushed all the way in, IDK, and she smacked her head onto a counter. She bled out. TL. DR. Trust your freaking doctor, or even give credit to their trusty assistants. Please don't take risks with your health. Similar, nearly the same, job, minus scribbery. Friday I had a patient get all huffy on the phone with me over the same thing. It has happened before and never lasted this long. Now at 4 days. My favorite is the woman that decided her eye cancer would be best treated by a bath of herbs and a single eye drop in Mexico. Physician, general practice, pretty much everything, generally inversely related to their level of education and general intelligence. Not really just my profession, but my job has me driving on beaches a lot, as in soft, deep sand, for many miles. When I'm on duty, I'm decked out in agency gear, driving a big bus agency truck with 4WD, and basically scream that I got this crap down. One of the beaches has an access point which no one takes care of. Sand can easily get over 3 feet deep. There's DEP tracks where people have driven, etc. And, every day, people get stuck trying to enter the beach here. The trick is to have 4WD and drive pretty fast for the asphalt sand transition where all the sand deposits. I was helping one truck dig out when a little Impreza stopped right at the entrance. I motioned for them to stop. They ignored me and tried to hug the side and super slowly drive in. Got stuck, then did the usual, lem rev some more and really spin and dig. Guy gets out of his little old car and tries to lecture me on how his car never gets stuck and that's why he didn't stop. Well, sir, this is a difficult entry point for non-4WD vehicles. All Subarus are 4WD. I stay polite, try to explain that Subaru orders not true 4WD, and he takes personal offense. I leave to continue helping the truck. He follows me. Well, what do you think I should do? I explain that his car is little, so if we dig it out and push, he can go the 40 feet to the packed sand and then drive a few miles to a better access road to exit. He gets into a huge huff about why it would be better to go 30 feet backwards instead, then turns to my male colleague, who was visiting from the city and doesn't know sand driving, and asks what he thinks since he must know better. My colleague is blustering. I'm biting back curses, and then the guy says, my car had better not get scratched while you push. Oh, good, you're likely litigious as well as a sexist butthole. Pull my colleague away, make some noise about being expected down the beach, and GTFO out of there. I help dig out and push citizens out of kindness. I'm in no way expected to. Bonus, the guy was hosting some Christian foreign exchange kid who was white knuckling a Bible the entire time and just staring. Well, sir, if you have a concern about my offer of assistance, please feel free to call one of the many local towing companies. It should only run you about $80 for the hookup and tow out and only take about an hour to get here. I'm a makeup artist, licensed, trained, certified. I've spent years perfecting my art, and it seems like every 16-year-old who has watched 5 YouTube videos thinks they know much more than me. Yeah, I use a fork to concha because Bella Buttersnatch on YouTube said that's the best. You don't concha with a fork? Are you even a makeup artist? Love it. I work for a utility company that maintains the grid for both electrical and gas distribution. I was in a meeting with a cybersecurity consultant who claimed that given enough time he could access and shut down our entire gas distribution network. We told him that was simply not possible and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He told us we were being naive and any computer system can be accessed by anyone with enough time and energy. We told him our gas grid is entirely mechanical with zero remote access or control. The only way to shut down a station is to go there yourself and close the valves manually. Used to be an editor at a newspaper, and I lost count of the amount of times someone tried to tell me that a reporter's use of they as a singular pronoun was wrong. For what it's worth, in AP style, they is the correct singular pronoun when gender is not known. I work with cows, on a ranch. Where do I even begin? Every time a gif or picture of a cow ends up on the front page, I get to read the same untrue crap every time upvoted to the top comments. I've made the mistake of commenting before. Always get downvoted by people who grew up on a farm. Turns out if you live slightly out of town with a few acres, it's a farm and qualifies you as an expert in agriculture. I work in a bank. There's a view that if a bank refuses to lend you money, they are a villain. If only you could prove yourself being capable of repaying. Lifeguard. Every lifeguard has a bajillion stories of parents and swimmers who know better. I called everyone out of the water because of thunder. Everyone moved like molasses, despite multiple whistles and me explaining why thunder is dangerous. Cue parents telling kids to go back into the water to retrieve floating toys. More whistle blowing and explaining why that is not good. Cue kids trying to go back into the lake to wash sand from their shoes. More whistle blowing and lots of dirty looks. I don't know what the heck is wrong with people. I knew that thunder and water don't mix from a very young age. I also knew dang well to listen to the lifeguard. Work as a mechanic and everything should be covered under warranty. I bought this car 8 years ago and drove until the brake pads disappeared and the caliper piston is half gone dug into the rotor. That shouldn't happen. Yes, that shouldn't happen because you should routinely have your brakes inspected and replaced when needed. Then when there is a service bulletin they find online they have that issue. The issue that can never be duplicated or the issue that doesn't pertain to their vehicle but 15 model years older. I have the same noise as this bulletin. That doesn't apply to your vehicle, sir. Yes, it does. The bulletin applies to something on the rear differential. Yes, I know. Your car is 2WD. No, it's not. What? Me. Sir, you've had a stroke. I really don't recommend you leaving until all your workup is complete. Patient. I didn't have a stroke. I had a shire. You don't know what you are talking about. Me. Pulls up MRI report for patient. Report reads acute ischemic infarction. Patient. I'm filing a complaint against this hospital. All my workup should have been done already. Has been in hospital less than 24 hours. Me. Have a good day, sir. Papers to sign out are up front at the nurse's desk. Wine. I'm looking for a wine without sulfites. Sorry, that does not exist. You don't know much about wine. I had one last week. No, you did not. You may have had a wine without added sulfites. No, I swear. It had no sulfites. I'm allergic to sulfites, so I only drink wine without sulfites. It's a talent to have the same conversations over and over again without coming off like a douche. No, all wine does not taste the same. Yes, professionals can tell the difference despite that one article you read, which was quickly discredited. No, you're not allergic to sulfites tannins. You're dehydrated. OMG. The tannin sulfite natural wine American oak. Wine allergy. LOL. As a sommelier, this one is classic. Lawyer. Sovsits who pull constitutional interpretations out of thin air and think it's legally binding. Or the people who think all you need is a better case, but don't know about the rules of evidence and civil procedure. I study linguistics. Last week I saw an article headline about a little girl who can already speak 2 languages at 2 years old, and I think I ascended to another plane of existence for a bit. Screenwriter here. I have my own studio and for fun I'll take on clients by reading and giving notes to their scripts. It's called script consultation, and for a lot of people it's the bread and butter money in Hollywood, especially if you get fast at it. This one client I got sent me a 1500 page script. Most scripts are 90-110 pages, and I had to tell him I'd be charging him by the page, 10 cents a page, which meant he'd be paying my rent basically. He proceeds to tell me that all the greats write that much at first and have consultants trim it for them. Ha, yeah buddy, that's a total lie. I laughed, but he still paid me per page. He did pay my rent. And that man? His name was Paul Thomas Anders. Just kidding, I don't remember his name. His script was weird. Behavioral therapy tech. In the middle of a potty training program, you make the bathroom the most exciting thing in the world during this time. Parent. He started slapping himself when I tell him to try to go to the bathroom. We don't use corporal punishment at our house. Me. He hasn't had therapy in 2 weeks per you. And we definitely do not hit the children here, so. But you're right, parent. I work on a suicide hotline. The amount of people that call us up and tell us we're doing no good because anyone who wants to commit suicide is just gonna do it baffles me. First off, we answer well over 2,000 calls a day, and what I know, most of them are having suicidal thoughts and just need someone to hear them out and give them some next steps to get help. A few other repeated assumptions. All you do is talk. That doesn't help anyone. Well, yeah, it does. Of course, we do more than talk. There's also referrals, warm transfers to resources, and calling the police ambulance when the phone isn't enough. People who are thinking about suicide are just millennial snowflakes who can't handle the real world. Well, no, our particular demographic skews toward 55-plus-year-old men. You know, the good old boys who built this country and won't stop telling you all about it. But it also affects people from age 9 to 99. There's no age limit on this stuff. The people who commit suicide are just selfish. Well, no, I'm gonna be pedantic here and tell you that they just don't see another way out. They can't empathize because they're so depressed that removing themselves from the equation is an option. If someone is stuck in a hole and can't get out on their own, do you yell at them for falling in? No, you get a ladder or a rope or more people and you get them out. Then you try to figure out what to do about the hole. Medications are evil. And they didn't work because I tried it one time and nothing happened. Most psych meds take weeks if not months to take effect. And even then, that doesn't mean they'll affect you the same way they affect others. Oh, and sometimes yeah, they stop working or come up with new effects. We just don't know enough about how this stuff affects brain function and thus behavior to predict with any certainty. So yeah, your doctor is trying to help you, not kill you. I could go on, but I'm pretty sure this is buried deep already. I have a degree in geography, so I studied meteorology in depth, but I regularly have climate change and weather patterns of the earth explained to me. I'm a teacher, so it feels like most people outside of teaching know better than me. Mostly what they know is nostalgia tinted crap. Statistician. Literally every mother thinks because study X shows Y it's an indisputable fact beyond any questioning. 99% of Reddit basically think they know better because they are too dense to understand how statistical analysis actually work and what their conclusions mean. Even something as simple as are you safer driving on country roads or urban roads is so ridiculously complicated you could never actually answer it conclusively. And most people don't even understand that such a question is fundamentally flawed anyway. Define safer. I work in mental health. Anyone who has a job that may involve social contact with others is the same thing. For many others. Who knew hairstylists, bartenders, wait staff, cab drivers, etc. can provide evidence-based, structured treatment for a variety of diagnosable mental health problems. Apparently advanced degrees, training and years of experience isn't what you need to do a job like mine. Just be good at small talk. This, as an Uber driver, I really wish a lot of people would just get a therapist. I'm far from a professional, but I once had a lady yell at me for working at a place that cages its animals. Now, I get that makes you sad, but a lot of these animals are rescued, dying out. Tons of reasons. As well as for their safety we keep you away from them. No, I can't sneak you into the lemur enclosure by the way. I just don't get why you visited our zoo to lecture me about animals behind bars. They are played with, fed way better than you, and breed just fine. I choose animals over humans any day. Gunsmith. The guys over on Guns like to tell me how dumb I am every time I see a problem I've diagnosed 1,000 times. Can't complain though. They're the same types who come in with something that will take me an hour or so to fix. Put them in the line. They come pick up in 3 weeks and pay a stupid tax. Social assistance caseworker here. It's amazing how many people shoot their mouths off about welfare bums, conniving refugees, lazy immigrants, etc. Living it up on their tax dollars. I love my job, and it infuriates me to hear this crap. Every person has a story, and very few of them, I estimate 10% at the most, are actually lazy or conniving. If I had $1 for every time a new client says to me I'm not like these people, I've worked hard all my life or some variation thereof, I could retire wealthy. I've had doctors, lawyers, athletes, teachers, models, people from every walk of life, in every financial status on my caseload. Yes, a few former millionaires, tragedy doesn't care about your net worth. It's hard to listen to the constant political welfare bashing and know that most of my clients felt the same way before they had to walk through my doors. I don't care if the approximate 10% are really lazy, fraudulent, blah blah blah. I work for all of my clients, and 90% of them don't deserve your scorn. I'm a therapist for children with autism. I have a degree in psychology, a postgrad in autism and behavioral sciences, and I am currently doing my Masters of Applied Disability Studies. People repeatedly tell me how I should deal with the children I work with, almost like how some people criticize parenting techniques. Further, tons of people try to tell me that vaccines cause autism and the proof is because of the increased diagnosis. No matter how many times I tell them the research was false and the original doctor fully admitted to lying, they still insist. Drives me nuts. Petroleum chemist. Had a mechanic tell me my car was idling bad because I probably had water in my tank. I explained that it was on a quarter tank from my last full fill up, so I didn't think it was water. He went on to explain that water floated on gas so it wouldn't foul your lines until you got to empty. I explained that I was a petroleum chemist and have checked roughly a gajillion samples for water and assured him it most certainly did not float on gasoline. He told me I was mistaken. I took my car elsewhere and had the cam sensor replaced as that's the code it put up. Oncology pharmacist. I've always just assumed those people touting alternative cures for cancer only existed in the deep reaches of crazy Facebook, but it's somewhat jarring to meet those people in real life. I'm a CPA and the president recently claimed to know more about taxes than the greatest CPA. Now I'm far from the greatest CPA, but I can tell you, if anyone ever claims to know everything about taxes, that person is not who you should be taking tax advice from. I teach English as a foreign language. I have had non-native speakers correct my grammar and argue with me over language use. I remember an EFL class where a guy would not give up on the idea that a particular English word meant beard, because his Polish dictionary said so. I think the word was Saddam. It was something strange like that. I couldn't convince him otherwise. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.